Hi, I'm Dr. Mantz, and welcome to week 2 of the Ask Me Anything experiment that I'm running on Twitter. And so on week 2, our Krupa sent me his question, and he won this week, so congratulations. And his question for this week is about anxiety and overthinking. And so his question was, how does the human brain trick us into overthinking or having serious anxiety about anything considered important by our brain? Excellent question. There's obviously a lot of us are struggling a lot of times with obsessive thinking and anxiety that kind of go hand in hand. And the way he asked the question is, how does the human brain trick us into overthinking or generating serious anxiety? So implicit in that is the idea that the brain or the mind is some sort of evil dude that's coming after you and trying to screw up your day. Like after a long day's work, you're looking to relax, you lay down on the couch and you're just looking to relax, and all of a sudden, bam, you're hitting with all these different thoughts about what do I need to do tomorrow, what's going on right now, and all this other stuff when you're trying to relax. And that can be a very uncomfortable experience. And so oftentimes what we'll do is we'll try to push the thoughts out of there. Now we're really in a battle with it. And oftentimes that may last for, I don't know, a couple seconds until you realize the thoughts didn't just come at you with more vigor and intensity. So trying to fight your mind head on definitely doesn't work that well. And then you might then rely on what most people rely on, and that is distractions, whether it's going to the TV, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's going for the booze or cannabis or going on social media. I mean, obviously, most of the entertainment industry is all built on the distraction from the discomfort that we feel. Often that's because we have unprocessed emotions, often in the form of resentment, anger, unprocessed grief, all those things. They all play a role, because what I can tell you about when it comes to overthinking is at the heart of overthinking always is that you're having unprocessed emotions that are driving the overthinking, that these obsessive thoughts are being driven. The engine of your obsessive thinking are emotions. And so one of the key things that you would want to be able to do is be able to go into the body and ask yourself, what is the engine that's driving this? And go into what is the emotion that's driving this particular thought storm that's kind of taking you over. So that's one of the key first parts of it as well. The other thing is that going back to the battle with the mind thing, is that you have to understand that when you're battling your mind, you're battling a facet of yourself. It would be like trying to have your left body try to beat the shit out of your right body. Obviously, you're just going to lose either way. So the idea is, it's not that the mind is against you, is trying to fight you, is trying to hurt you, because any of those type of analogies will really just put you in the tendency to try to battle with it. And if you battle with it, like I said, it's a part of you, so you're going to wind up losing once you're in a battle. That's how it is. So the way I like to frame it is, it's more about being able to train your attention when the thoughts are coming in and you're thinking all these different thoughts, is to be able to unhook your attention from the thought stream that's there and redirect it to something else that's more valuable than these circling thoughts that you realize are just making you more upset. So one of the things you can do is to redirect your attention from thinking, which is a top-down process, to a bottom-up process like sensing, using your five senses, whether it's the sense of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And so I will link one of the articles that I have here on getting out of your mind and into your senses to help give you some guidance in order. And also I go over a meditation that you can play with to be able to start training yourself to actually bring your attention away from just noticing all the verbal noise in your head and bringing it to the sensing domain, whether it's sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and also the internal sense, what we call interoception, sensing the body. Because at the core of that, you want to be able to reach into those unprocessed emotions that are driving the overthinking in the first place. The other thing is, you want to think about your attention as kind of like, if it's untrained, like a puppy. So that way you wouldn't smack the puppy, you wouldn't try to go after the puppy, because it's chasing after just all these thoughts all over the place. So, the puppy just loves any kind of noisy thoughts, it's going to chase after them. And then sometimes it's chasing after its own tail. oftentimes leading ourselves into sort of obsessive spirals. So one of the things is you want to be able to slowly, like you would train a puppy, you would notice, hey, it's going over there. Hey, just come back over here. No, 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 boy, come back over here. It's really just being gentle and bringing it back. Gentle, bringing it back, and eventually, as you do that, and you're allowing your capacity to sense grow, and also other senses like sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, then of course that gets stronger through repetition, and then you can kind of cater it to your style. If you have trouble when you're doing these sort of sitting down sensing capacities, what I suggest is maybe first doing some physical exercise and then doing the attentional thing. That way the restlessness is not going to be as prominent, and the exercise can boost the dopamine. For those of us who have maybe some attentional issues, that extra little dopamine will help you as you do these attentional training exercises. The other thing is that noticing when you're overthinking, especially with anxiety, that one of the patterns that I want you to become aware of, and I write about this in my other articles on high cognitive reactivity, which I'll also link on the notes below, and that is on the idea of what we call a negative thought emotion cycle. And this is a self-reinforcing cycle that each time you go through the loop, it tends to make itself stronger. So let's just say you're having some anxiety because you have a presentation that's due tomorrow, and so the anxiety is kind of building, and that anxiety, the emotion, then drives thinking about that presentation coming up. And so because the anxiety is the engine that's driving the thought, then the thought is generally going to be biased because it's going to be an anxious thought. That's why it constrains all the different thoughts that you can have to being more based on the mood that you're currently having, which is more anxious. So then the thoughts may think that, oh, I might mess up. What if I do this? What if I do that? We call that the what if compulsion. So when that's happening and you're going through and you're thinking about it, now you're thinking about all the things that could go wrong, which of course then loops itself back into the anxiety and empowers it. So its intensity goes up, which then of course goes into the thoughts again, making them more extreme. So then it constrains all the thoughts that you could have that would be helpful to more and more intensified anxious thoughts. And that just keeps looping itself over and over, and each one becomes a rep, and that's why it becomes bigger and bigger and can really make us sort of kind of get into a brooding mode where we're just worrying, and that can kind of bring us through where we can't sleep and all kinds of other issues. Going on to the second question. Why does stimulating serotonin production make this go away? So simply, like, there's sometimes serotonin can, when we are changing it, whether through supplements, exercise, or through meditation, or through pharmacology, that it can help with these obsessional symptoms and anxiety in the way that I'm not going to go into the sort of pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics on how serotonin does that. I'll speak experientially. So when I'm giving, for instance, an SSRI, an antidepressant, that also helps with anxiety. It often, one of the reasons why it works is that experientially, your thoughts tend to become less sticky. And because they're less sticky, you're less likely to get into that sort of positive self-reinforcing cycle of anxiety to thought and back and forth, that you're able to let it go. And because of that, you're not driving your emotions and thoughts so strongly, wearing yourself out, and then you tend to start to improve. The other thing that tends to happen is that when serotonin sometimes can help for some people is to dial down the level of sensitivity that they have in reaction to different stimuli and to their own emotions. So when we dial it down, you're able to feel a little bit more calmer, and things don't tend to bug you quite as much. So then you're less reactive with reactive either emotions and thoughts and getting caught in loops like that. So then by not being as sensitive to that, you're able to kind of let things go. So you're not ruminating, about the past as much, or worrying about the future, not wasting your energy in these imaginary domains, but allowing yourself to be more present, which is the only place where you're going to find new insights, new solutions. So the things that's the two things we see is that you start to notice that you get your thoughts become less sticky, and also your sensitivity to things gets kind of like a little bit dialed down. We sometimes can go too far with using these substances, where you can dial it down too far, where people might state that they have difficulties even crying or emoting at all. And so when that happens, we have to kind of like dial it back up a little bit notch and finding that sweet spot so that it becomes a tool, because the pharmacology, even supplements, are not going to teach the body how to regulate it, but they're like training training wheels that you can then go and practice other things and work on your other physiology that may be contributing to the different symptoms that you're having. And then by gaining those, you can slowly take the training wheels away. And then hopefully, if you're on medicine, you're able to lower it to a very low dose that has no side effects, or be able to get off of it completely. The last part was, is Prozac the best solution? And if so, why do we have so many SSRIs? So, Prozac was one of the first, SSRIs to come out, Zoloft being number 2. There are different flavors. Each SSRI does work by blocking the reuptake of serotonin, letting it raise in the brain. And then it has some rippling effects afterwards. Mainly, it improves neuroplasticity in the brain and lowers neuroinflammation when it works. The different SSRIs can have different effects. Prozac tends to be, on average, again, everyone's a little bit different, a little more stimulating, as opposed to, say, Paxil, which is more likely to be more sedating. There's different ones like Zoloft, which has been out a lot, which tends to be a little bit more, you can kind of dose it really low and go really slow. So people who tend to be very sensitive, I might go with that. And that's just one of my favorites if I'm going to use them at all. But they each have a little bit of difference inside. So there is some idea of like that one, if you don't work with one, you might actually work with another. There are differences. They do have certain different side effect profile differences, although there'll be a lot of similarity because their main effect is similar. So that way, I hope that helps answer your question. I thank you, our Krupa, for participating. If people like this and want to continue to participate, I will be asking for another question soon, and you can answer it, and I will be able to answer more. So with more engagement, I might do more. I would like to. Hope you do too. All right, take care. Bye-bye.